Hello everyone, welcome back to the second part of this particular to-do application. So in the last part, we have seen how we have created a Figma template or basically Figma design for our to-do application. Okay, so this is our final product that we have seen. Now this, we are going to convert it into an HTML template. So let's begin. So I have created an empty folder. Inside that, I will start with index.html and I will add a little bit of boilerplate. Then I will also create a folder called CSS. And inside that, I will add, let's say, main.css. Okay. Then I want to include that CSS inside here. So let's call link and css main.css. Okay, so once that is done, our basic HTML part is done. Now let's start our live server and check the code side by side. Okay, so currently it is completely empty, so I can give it a title called my to do app. Okay, so that is all set. Now let's switch to our Figma design and let's see what all things we require. Okay, so first, so whenever we design any website, the first step would be to add all the HTML elements inside this inside your HTML, right? So let's begin. Let's bring, okay, so let me bring this to the side so that it's visible. And let's come over here and let's see what all things we require. Okay, so we need one div called container. Okay, so this entire to do app is going to be wrapped inside one container. Okay, so this entire thing is one box. Okay, this box is not visible, but we have to imagine that this entire thing is wrapped inside a box. Inside that, I will have two divs. One will be to do form. Okay, this will be for the upper container. Okay, and there will be another div which will be let's call it to do table. Okay, so that will be the below form. Okay, let's go to the top to do form div. Inside that, there should be a form tag. Okay, because it's going to be a form. This particular input element is going to be a form. Then I will be having an input element which is going to be of type text, and the name of it we can give it as, let's say, to do name. Okay, so let's call it to do name, and let's give it a placeholder called add new to do. Okay, and I think that is enough. Next, let's add the button. So the button only has a plus symbol inside it, and I think that is it. So our top part is done. That means this particular part is done. The next part is going to be the table. So the table has few things. First of all, it has an H1. Okay, so it's up to you. You can decide which element you want to use. I am using H1. Then I would like to use a small tag for this entire thing that is going on. Okay, so this entire thing I will be calling, uh, putting it inside a small tag. Then there will be a table. Okay, inside the table there will be t head. Inside the t head there will be tr. and inside tr we will be having table headers, and three table headers. One is going to be hash, the second is going to be to do title, and the third one is going to be status. Okay, then there will be a t body, which is also going to have a tr inside that, tds, three of them. And instead of 1 2 3 4 like this, I'm going to have a checkbox over here. Okay, so that I can mark it as complete or incomplete. Okay, so instead of having 1 2 3, I'm going to have check boxes over here. So let's do input type checkbox, and let's give it a name. I think we don't need a name as such, and I think that's it. Okay, so that is it for the checkbox. Then I can have, okay, so I can have the title and the status as pending. Okay, so these things I have done, and I'm going to duplicate this 3 more times. Okay, so I can copy the text from here. Okay, so I think that is it for our table. Now I can switch back to our HTML. Let's save it and let's see. So this is how our HTML looks like. Okay, now so without the CSS, this looks nothing like our design. Okay, so let's switch to our CSS and start designing. So I can, the first thing that I normally do is reset the margin and set the box sizing to border box. Okay, once that is done, now I can start styling. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to style is set the body. So I'm going to set the body background first. Okay, so let's go to our Figma and go to select the outer frame, and you can get this style from here, the background that we have set. So this is the background that we have set, and save it, and this should give you this particular style of background. Okay, now obviously this is repeating. That is because your body height is not complete. If you look at the body height, it is now only this much. Okay, so this is the height of your body. So now the second command that I should put is the height. Okay, so height, I will put it as 100 viewport height, 100% of the viewport height. And now immediately everything becomes, now the background is set properly. Next, I want, now if you look at the way we have arranged it, the body has only one div, which is called the container, and this container should come in the center. Okay, now to bring anything in the center, we can, there are multiple ways you can do it, but my favorite way is just to use a flex box. Okay, so display flex, and just to justify content, center, and align items center. Okay, just by these three lines the content comes to the center. Okay, now that is done. Next, let's start designing the to do form. Okay, so this is the class for the to do form. Inside, let's come down, and it's a class, so I have to use the dot. Now the to do form, let's go to a Figma design. This particular element has this particular style. So you can see if I go inside, there is a border radius and a background color set. So we will do that. Okay, and that should give me that particular color. Okay, now obviously you can see that it is showing up, but it is not showing up properly. So we will have to give a little bit of padding to see what is going on, right? So let's give a padding of, let's try 1 em, and now you can see exactly what is happening, right? So now I have the box properly set. Next I will go to the to do form and target the input element, right? So that is the text box. Next I'm going to target the text box. Now the text box, what all things I need to set. Okay, so the first thing I would like to set, let's come to our Figma design and let's see what is the font size and everything. So font size is around 25 pixel and line height is around 29 pixels. So let's set that. And now if I save it, now it looks somewhat like the way we had our, now the font size is set, the line height is set. Now let's add some padding inside, because if you look at the design, there is enough padding inside my button. So if you look at this, you can see around 14 pixels, or I can say 15 pixels padding we can add. So let's add a padding of 15 pixels and see how it looks. Okay. So I think 15 pixel is too much. Let's go to 10 pixels padding. Okay, so this is enough for our form. Okay, and now next what I want to do is set the border to none, border, because there is no border in our case. So if I remove the border, now it looks much better. And the border radius, because it's having a rounded radius, and we have used 10 pixels border radius for all the elements. So once I do that, now it looks somewhat what we had in the Figma design. Okay, so you can see somewhat it looks like that. Now next we are going to style the button. Okay, so let's duplicate and style the button element. Okay, and the font size, line height, padding, 10 pixels. We will change all these things, and border radius 10 pixels. All these styles will be there, but the background is different. Okay, so let's set the background. Okay, so this is going to be the background and the border radius. Okay, so the border radius I've already set, so let that be like that only. And so you can see this is how it looks, right? Now the button uh, color is, I think the color is slightly different. Yeah, it is a white color button. So we will copy that style also, color, and come over here and set the color to this color. Okay, so save it and let's see what is the output. Okay, so now this looks okay to me. Now next I want the button to be inside the input box and not outside. Okay, so if you look at the Figma design, you can see the button is inside the text box. Okay, so let's do that next. Now for that to work, we have to first go to the to do form and set the position to relative. Okay, because I'm going to set the button position to absolute, so it has to uh, it is absolute based on some relative element, right? So I want to make its parent as relative, and then I'm going to come down and set the position to absolute. Okay, now as soon as I do that, now you can see it goes out of the flow, and now this particular box is taking the entire width, and this is now out of the flow. Now what we can do is come down over here and set the right um, right to, let's see, when I put 0 pixels, it becomes something like this. Okay, so the right 0 pixels does something like this, so it comes somewhere around here. Okay, that means, let me just zoom in and show you. So this is this white, light color white box is our outer div, right? And you have a padding of let me check in the, yeah, a padding of 1 m. Okay, so that was the padding that we have applied. So to bring it inside, we will have to add a padding over here. Sorry, the right should be changed. So we can do, it is going to be 1 m plus some value to bring it inside. Okay, so let's put 1 m first and see. So you can see it comes around somewhere around here. So 1 m is around somewhere here, right? And now the height, I want to reduce the height of this. So this height is coming because of this line height. Okay, so first of all, let me just reduce the line height to 25 pixels. Okay, and then the padding, I want different padding on the left and right, and different on the top and bottom. Okay, so let's change the padding. Let's first save this and see. So now it is looking something like this. Now let's do 5 pixels on top and bottom, and let's say 20 pixels on left and right. So this is how the button looks, but this becomes a little bit wide, so I don't want that much wide button. So I think this is fine. Okay, so this button is fine, and it is perfectly how the button looks in our design. Now only thing left is to bring it a little down, so I can set the margin of this particular button. Margin top, let's say 1 m, and see what happens. No, wait, I think we have used padding of, no, over here we have, yeah, so 1 m is a bit too much. So let's try 10 pixels. So 10 pixels is also a bit too much. Let's try 5 pixels. Okay, so I think 7 pixels is brings it perfectly to the center, and that's it. So that is my design for our to do form. Okay, so let me reset. Now this may look slightly smaller in size. Let's check out the width. So the width is around 498 pixels. Okay, so that is around, so this, the width of the entire desktop is around 1440 pixels, and the width of this is around 500. Okay, so that is around 30 to 40%, right? So what we can do is we can come over here to the to do form and set a width of 35% of the viewport width, right? So I can just say 35 viewport width. once I do that, and mm, I think 35 is a bit too small, so let's set it to around 40. Okay, so that is set. Now you can see I have set the viewport width to be 40%. Now that does not look good. Let's make it 50%. After doing 50%, the input width is not taking the entire width. So let's do a width of 100%. That should take up the entire space. Okay. So you get a form which is similar to what we have designed. And let's now go ahead and design the to do table. Okay. Now in the table again, you can see we have the to do table, and the to do form have almost the same property. So I can just add a comma and add this to it, and that will create the same style for the to do table also, right? And then I need a little bit of margin between both of them, both the columns, so I can come down and just use that style and do margin top, let's say 1 em, and see how it looks. Yeah, that is better. Now I can use this. Now I can start styling my remaining elements. So to do table, I have an h1. Now for the h1, I can set the h1 to I can take the style from here. So this is the style for h1. Okay, so now if you look at it, we have designed using the Roboto font. So it would be a good idea to get the Roboto font from Google. Okay, so this is the Roboto font, and we have used normal, sorry, font weight bold. Okay, so we can select this, embed, or in fact I think we can select this also. Okay, so let's copy this and let's go to our HTML, paste it before it, save it. Now in the body we can set the font to be this. Okay, so that is going to be our default font for everything. Now if I save it and come back to our HTML, so now this is how everything looks. Okay, so I have the to-dos perfectly set. Now let's do it for, let's do the same thing for the small tag, and let's get the style. So this is the style for the small tag. Let's replace all these things with that. Okay, save it and let's see what is the output. So this is how it looks. Next I want to style the very important part, that is the table. Okay, so let's do to do table dot table. Okay, so now this table I have to set a few things. First of all, I don't want, I don't want border spacing at all, so I will set the border spacing to 0 pixels. Then I want a little bit of separation between the table and the content, so I will do margin top of 1 em, so that creates a little bit of separation. Then I want the width of the table to be 100%, so that will increase the width. Then let's go back to our Figma design and see what all things are left. The table will have a background color of white. Okay, so that will create something like this. Then it will also have a border radius of 10 pixels. So you can see this is how it looks. Then let's think now what else is required. Okay, next let's target the cells one by one. So to do table t head and tr, that is the uh, head row, and you can see for the tr we have a separate background color, so we can set that background color for this, and the color of the text is going to be white. Okay, and let's check it out. So this is how it's going to look, right? And now obviously it does not look the way we have designed it, but we will come to it soon. So now let's check out the font size. So the font size is something like this. Okay, so let's copy that, come over here and paste it, and we can remove these things that are not required, and the color is already set, so I can remove that also. Now let us check. So this is what we get, right? Now now everything looks proper. Next I want to set the height of the uh, this particular div. So I want the height to be around 40 pixels for each element. Okay, so I have set the height to be 40 pixels. So now this looks good. Now the only thing left is to round the corners of these particular cells. Okay, so for that I will have to target each of the cells separately. So let's do that. So to do table t head t r t h, and this th should be the first child. So the first child I'm going to select and set the border radius, and now here I'm going to specify which exact border radius I want to change. Okay, so I want to so it goes in the clockwise direction. So this is top left, and then 0 pixels, 0 pixels, 0 pixels. Yeah, so top left, top right, bottom right, and bottom left. So it is going in the clockwise direction, and this gives me that particular uh, look and feel of my form. Okay, now the next thing that I want to do is do the same but for the last child. Okay, and this will become 10 pixels and this will become 0 pixels. That will make this the rounded corner. So now I have this. The next part will be to target. I will take the same code, duplicate it, and this time I'm going to target the T body, TR, and for this the background is not that important. I will remove the background because the background is going to be white only. And for the odd, we are going to change. For the time being, let it be like that. Then the font weight will not be bold, so I can remove that. And rest everything is fine. And the color is going to be black only. Okay, so save it, and this is what we get. Okay, now next what I want is for the T body, TRTH, that is the first uh, child. So all the first childs of this particular table, okay, they should be uh, text align center. Okay, so they should be center aligned. And sorry, it is TD, not TH. So TD, because in the T body we have used TD, right? So once we do that, now you can see everything comes in the center. And I need a little bit of padding left and right. So padding left and right, top and bottom, we already have a padding, I think. uh, no, we don't have a padding for top and bottom. Let's take 5 pixel padding top and bottom, but left and right I need around 15 pixels of padding. Okay, so that is too much. Let's do 5 pixel all the way. Yeah, that is better. So now I have this all set. And similarly, I want to do the padding for the last child. I want the last child to be also center aligned. So I will take this and copy this over here and save it. uh, T body, TR TD, and this makes this column also center aligned. Now next what I want is, okay, now let me think. Now I want the odd TRs to be colored separately. Okay, so you can see there is a slight dark color going on in odd, sorry, even columns. Okay, so let's select that. Okay, so let's go to, where should I go? Okay, so let's select this and let's go to TR. Let's remove this, and in the TR I will select a pseudo class nth child, and in the nth child I will select all the even. Okay, so when I do this, now I can set a different background color for all the even rows. Okay, so for that, let me just select the background. So this is going to be my background color. Set this, and I think that is it. So that creates this particular thing. Now again we have the bottom part. We have to make this rounded corners. Okay, so for that we have done for the head, so we will copy the same thing, come down and paste it. Now first of all I have to change this to T body, right? Next, this is going to be TD. Okay, so this is going to be TD because in T body it is TD. So first child, last child, all this is fine. But now in this case of T body, there are multiple rows. Okay, whereas in case of T head there was only one row. So that's why we in case of T head we just wrote about TR. Okay, but in case of T body we cannot write TR directly, because that would mean all the TRs. Okay, so all the TRs, first and last children's. Okay, so that means this column and this column. We don't want that. We just want to target this cell and this cell, that is the last rows cell. Okay, so for that all we have to do is add a pseudo class called last child. Okay, so last tr, similarly last tr. Okay, so I have selected the last tr over here, and now I want to change the border radius. Now this is top left. Now sorry, this is this particular cell over here. Okay, so this cell I want to make the bottom right, that means this to be 10 pixels. Okay, let's save it. You can see this happens, and in this case I want this to be 10 pixels, and that is it. So our design is complete. But now what I want is I want um, a different design for when I would mark that particular task as complete. Okay, so unfortunately we did not design it over here in Figma. That is fine, we can make it very easily over here. So what all things we need? Okay, so first let us go to our markup and take any one of the elements. Let's say eat lunch. Let's say we have completed eat lunch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a class over here called, let's call it complete. Okay, so whenever any task is complete, that particular row will have a class called complete. Okay, and what all things will change? So first of all, it will have a class called complete, then the checkbox will be checked, and this status will be complete. Okay, so these are the few changes that are going to be there whenever uh, you're going to check any particular element. Okay, so right now this is not going to work because we have not yet implemented it using JavaScript, but we are going to keep the style ready so that when we implement using JavaScript, we just have to add the style and everything will be taken care of. Okay, so let's do this. Let's go over here and select the to do table tbody and the tr which is active, or sorry, which is complete, and we are going to set the background color of this. Okay, so now we have to give this complete background color of something which will, you know, make it stand out a little. So let's give a background color. Let's start with yellow, and I think that is a bit too much. So let's go to something a little more greener. Okay, and save it. And I think this is fine. So whenever a task is complete, I'm going to make this green color. Second thing that I want to do is the text decoration. I can do line through so that it gets cancelled out once the task is complete. Okay, and it will be marked as complete. Okay, so this is I think that is it. We have successfully designed our to-do form, which we did in Figma first, and then we converted that design from Figma to HTML and CSS. Let's look at the form. So this is how it looks. Now, one tip over here. Now you can see when I try to scale it. Okay, so when I try to scale it, so it goes in this particular direction and it keeps on increasing, and it is possible that you don't want your form to do form to be such a huge form, and you want to reduce it, you want to restrict it, right? So what you can do is and one more thing, if you go too small, you can see what is exactly happening. So it becomes too small, right? So what I can do is I can come over here, and for the to do width, Okay, so you can see I'm setting the to do width to be 50 VW. Okay, so instead of this, I can do so. I can use a function called clamp. Okay, and what this clamp does is you can set the minimum and maximum that value of any value. You can set the minimum and maximum value. Okay, so it takes uh, three values: the minimum, the maximum, and in the bit in the center it is some value which is going to be flexible. Okay, like in case you can make it percentages, or you can make it viewport height, viewport width, something which is going to be fluid. Okay, so let's see what should be the minimum. So if let us inspect this a little, and let's keep on decreasing. So I can say that my minimum width of the to do form should be around 450 pixels. Okay, so let's go ahead and set the minimum width to be 450 pixels. Then uh, 50 VW viewport width is my uh, 50 viewport width is my default scale that is going to increase, and maximum I want it to be, let's say, 6 650 pixels. Okay, so I want it to be maximum 650 pixels. Okay, so once I do this clamping part, now if I go beyond certain limit, you can see it gets stuck at that point and it does not now go down further. Okay, so it does not go below 450 pixels. And similarly, if I go ahead and if I keep on increasing, so you can see after a certain while it stops expanding. Okay, so this is what you can do with the help of clamping. Okay, so I hope this makes sense. And this finishes our design, and now our design is complete. Let's check it out. And this is our final design that we have created for our to do application. So in the next part we will be actually making this work. So basically whenever we type something over here, it should add it to the end of the table. And also whenever I do a check, if I check that checkbox, that particular task should be marked as complete. Okay, and if possible, we will also going to add some feature to delete a particular to do. Okay, so I think that is it. So we'll see you in the next video in the part 3 of this particular series. Thank you.